Hello, today we're making quick cooker black bean butternut squash chili. It's a vegan recipe and it is being made in my brand new Pampered Chef quick cooker. There's a cup of onions and then I use some mini peppers, red and orange and yellow, about 4 of them, just little ones. And it's going to cook on the sear setting in the quick cooker with the lid off. Prior to adding the vegetables, I put in about 2 teaspoons of oil and let that sear for about 2 minutes. And once all the vegetables are in, then you let it cook for another 4 minutes. So here's 2 cloves of garlic. This garlic press has a little cleaner and a scraper attached to it in the handle. So once you press the garlic through, you can scrape off the little bits that are sticking out. You don't need to peel the garlic cloves. You can stick them in there whole, and then you use that scraper thing with the pokey things and push the peel back through, and then it's really easy to clean, and it can go in the dishwasher. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, 1½ tablespoons chili powder, a tablespoon of ground cumin, 1½ teaspoons of dried oregano, and between 3/4 of a teaspoon and a teaspoon of black pepper. I use the ground pepper, so you don't need quite as much, but if you like pepper, go ahead and put in a whole teaspoon. I shop at Costco, and I bought this butternut squash there. It's already cut up into little cubes. There's 2 pounds in the package. I'm using about half, which is about 3 cups of the squash. Now, there is a little bad piece that I was showing you and I dropped in there, so I pulled that back out again. But you don't want to use any pieces that look really ooky. The rest of the butternut squash I'll roast in the oven in a 375-degree oven, about 45 minutes, and I'll use it in another recipe. And then I'm going to add some diced tomatoes. That's a can. It's about 14½ ounces. And then a can of tomato paste, which is 6 ounces. A cup of dried black beans. Now, I didn't soak them. They were rinsed, but they have not been soaked at all. I'm also going to use 2½ cups of water and a vegetable bouillon cube. This cube makes 2 cups of bouillon, and I'm using 2½ cups of water, but that's okay. If you prefer kidney beans or pinto beans, then that's okay to exchange it for the black beans. Also, maybe you're not a fan of butternut squash. You can use a different kind of vegetable. If you don't put a vegetable in there at all, then you'll want to add additional water. And I would probably add additional bouillon cubes because the squash does offer some flavor. And also the squash makes it a little more mild, so you may want to cut back on some of the spices if you're not putting it in there. Another option would be to put another can of diced tomatoes in there, and there's liquid in there as well, so that would take care of some of that. Now with spices, it's always about personal preference. If your family likes things extra spicy, up it up. If they don't, then you might want to pare it back. Also keep in mind if you're using mild or an extra spicy chili powder. So you will adapt this recipe for your own personal likes. If you find that it becomes too spicy for your palate or maybe your children, then you can serve it with something that kind of tempers some of that spiciness. I use different kinds of things. Sometimes I'll serve it with corn or rice or even noodles. You can put yogurt if you're vegetarian, or a vegan plant-based yogurt or sour cream. That helps with that kind of thing. Obviously, you kind of want to be mindful of what your family likes when you're making a recipe that has spices. Okay, so now it's time for it to get cooking with the lid on. You're going to lock the lid, select the stew chili setting, and press start. And then it needs to come up to pressure. That little red thing is the pressure indicator, and it'll pop up when it's on and under pressure. The timer is up in about 40 minutes, and then you're going to let the steam release naturally for 10 minutes, and then you press that steam release button to release any remaining pressure. Then you'll press cancel, and then you'll serve it with any optional toppings.
Okay, so now it is all done. You can see it's very, very steamy, and it looks like everything is cooked really well. So I will come back and give you a report after dinner, let you know what everybody thought. It was delicious. It is a little spicy for younger children. My teenage daughter thought it was a little spicy for her. However, I thought it was pretty good. And one thing that you can do if you're trying to mask or hide vegetables in your cooking, so that if you have younger children, once again, or maybe even husbands or other adults that don't necessarily think they like butternut squash, the squash is so tender that you can sort of mash it. That's what I'm doing right now with the back of the spoon. You can sort of mash it into the chili, and the beans still hold their shape because I'm not mashing it hard at all. But then that way, nobody knows that the butternut squash is in there, not unless, of course, they were around when you were making it or you tell them. And not that butternut squash is a bad thing. I think it's really delicious. It helps to give a little bit of fiber, more fiber to the meal, but also it kind of tempers some of the spiciness. So it's a really tasty chili. And if you're not 100% plant-based, you could certainly add some cheddar cheese to it or some sour cream. My husband is a meat and potatoes person, so we ended up having tater tots with our dinner